Good evening, Seth here. It is disgusting outside and I've almost got a finished bow, so I've been inspired to make a video. Mostly, actually, by two fine gentlemen. When I first started doing this, I clued myself up through YouTube videos. Followed a whole bunch of people when it came to bow making, and then once I started finishing bows, I followed a bunch of people who did archery, and so tried to soak up information from as many people as possible. Two of these people who I followed me back and have got in touch over what's my last video and the one before that regarding this bow. So we got Hyperman Archery, who's so neither of these guys I know their background all that well, but Hyperman Archery seems to be a very experienced and accomplished field archer and bow hunter, and Delcat seems to be one of these salt of the earth Englishman bowmaker fellows, and both of them had, well, Delcat wanted to first he'd set me straight on a couple of things, which is good. So what I've said this before on the channel, please, if you hear something that isn't right that I've said, feel free to tell me, or any extra tidbits of information that could use in designing bows. So that's what he took me up on, was my use of terminology and some of the things around my design, which is fine. But you know I'm right about the belly. But anyway, we'll put that aside. The belly's here, and this is the back. Okay. That's the belly, that's the back, even though that is the wrong way around, but never mind. So yeah, Delcat was curious concerning the video I made about bows breaking, to see what this one looked like on the tiller tree. So we're gonna take care of that, because we are at that stage now. And then Hyperman wanted to, when I mentioned, well, the last video I made, right after it, I went to Wales Archery Specialists and tested the speed of this one. And the longbow, actually. I might string the longbow up and test the draw weight on that one, because it actually beat this one in a speed test, even though it feels lighter than this one. It generated 150 feet per second on one of its tests, and a higher average than this one did. But I suspect that is because that one is drawing farther than this one is, which we get to test now. So yeah, first we're gonna do Delcat's request. He wants to see what it looks like on the tiller. I've done my best to set it up looking at the bow. I realise it can be a bit deceptive from that angle on the screen. You know, to take my word for it if it's looking off with the tiller, because you might not be able to see from that angle. So yeah, let's draw it down. Up here in the tiller entry, let's go through that first, because we've got deep handles and something else Delcat brought me up on. So this design is pretty heavily inspired by the American semi-long bow, which does have a deep handle in regard. Well, it does it to lower shock in your hand with your shorter, stubbier bows, higher poundage stuff like 55 or whatever. If you're trying to increase accuracy, one of the ways you can do it is by retaining or adding mass in the middle of the bow, so it absorbs that shock. So I had ash. Ash is such a great handle material because it's very shock absorbent. So that's one of the design principles I held on to, like speed of limbs, and what else? There's some other anchor principles when it comes to bow making. But yes, I'm sure they'll come to me. Must be another one will be the tiller, and at this stage you can see where you tiller around. I mean, even like a small amount of movement that way can change the balance of the thing. So yeah, through the testing process, I've rounded off the shelf to a point where I know the arrow comes off of it quite well. So I can line up the shelf right there. That's another reason to maintain beef in your handle, because if you're going center cut like I have here, you use as much material there as you can to stop it from breaking. It gives you just that bit more material to create a nice wide shelf for your arrow to sit on. Yeah, I can see that's all lined up. You can see the center of the bow is actually Obviously not talking to Hyperman or Delcat here. This is anyone else who's tuned in. Hello, thanks for coming along. Yeah, you don't put the center of the bow in here. You shift the center sort of where you to compensate for where you're going to be pulling the string from and where your hand sits. I've put the balance point the very middle of the bow between the rest here and where your handle sits here. I found that balances things out quite well. But you're quite good. I think humans are quite good at adjusting very slightly. Well, when it comes to bows, you could think of all manner of ways that we do, but when it comes to bows, we're quite good at balancing things out ourselves. So yeah, right now we're at 12 inches. We're looking for the black line. If we had a deeper handle, the red line would be what we're aiming for, but this one I've seen is lined up with my black marking, so we can take it down. I haven't cut all the marks. Let's take it down to 20 straight off. Make sure we're still lined up. Not really, just right about there. The other thing to keep in mind here is that this limb is actually slightly shorter than this one, just because of the amount of mass on either side. So you can see it here. So that's the actual center there. It's just a very small amount. Yep, step back, have a look. They look quite good. We could probably do a little bit more here, but we have got a knot here. Let's take them down again. Now I know this one goes to 28. I have tested it. How wince-inducing it was. That's at 24. Just under 24. Got a very nice clean curve on this one. So yeah, of course, because this one's slightly shorter, you can imagine the bend starting from here, and then things start to even up a little bit. So let's take it down to 26. And things looking really nice. How's it look on the camera there? Yeah, not too bad. See, once again, could lose a little bit more in here. I have shot the thing and it doesn't feel unbalanced at all. It's not throwing the arrow in awkward ways, and I don't even use a knocking point with it. So that's at 26. I won't hook it in at 28 because we don't want to leave it there. But we do pull to 28. So we can answer Hyperman's question, which is what's the draw power? What's the poundage on the thing? Because we can figure out the power from the weight of the arrow and the speed test I did the other day. The weight of the arrow is 430 grains, just under. So I got no real reference point. Yesterday was the first time using a chronograph. It was interesting to see. Snip this guy on, just to get that side for smoothness. Now, something I only learned the other day, it does make an awful lot of sense, is that if you're testing your power like this with a single point in the middle of the string, you're going to come in a few pounds under what it actually is. Some applications that might not mean much of a problem, but with traditional bows you really want to know exactly what the poundage is, so you can spine your arrows accordingly. I'm using very stiff arrows. I designed these to use aluminium arrows and be center cut, so it's less of an issue. But let's find out anyway. We're nicely lined up there. Let's get the pull scale on. It's horrible. So I've pulled it to 28 in my hand, and I pulled it up to 28 on here, but for some reason through the pull scale it always feels horrible. At 26, we've got 43. Do that to me, that was my knot moving. Let's exercise them a little bit just to be safe. 28. Ooh. 47. So, Hyperman, 47 at 28. With a 430 grain arrow, we did average 135 feet per second. You tell me if that's good. Because if it ain't, the next stage is going to be trying to put some more speed in here. We're going to consider two ways of doing that. Firstly is to make it draw farther, and if I was going to do that, I'll be trying to lose a bit of material in here. We could see from the tiller tree there that that area could bend just a little bit more to make it a, you know, an even bend across. You could, I mean, you could take material away from another area, but it won't be an even bend now, will it? So yeah, if we want to gain a bit more time with the string behind the arrow, which obviously it propels the arrow more. It transfers more energy into the projectile. Of course, you're balancing your draw weight there. So this is what I mentioned with the longbow. Even though the longbow could well be a lighter draw than this, I think it probably is. You know what? Let's go grab it. It was reaching 150 feet per second. There times a crime. There it is. Which is quicker than that one. Well, of course, something else I've neglected to mention about why you might make one bow shorter than the other is that if you're trying to use this in a forest or inside, they are easier to move around if they're short. The longer bow is going to get caught on things and stand out more now, isn't it? So yes, 47 at 28. 135 feet per second with a 430 grain arrow. That's the stats for Agent over there. 009 with my bows. Let's grab this red string here. I think we've got everything set up. Might as well chuck it on. Apologies for the light, by the way. This was the best I could do with the equipment that I have. And see, it focuses on the bow. Let's get this on. Right, I haven't got a stringer. And this bow is silly long. I've pulled my back a few times doing it like this. Got another technique where I put my foot on the handle and sort of lean against the wall. It saves my back. Go on, in it. Sweet. Agent has a 7.5 inch brace height. Yeah, the first ones I did, I ran a string that was 3 inches shorter than the knock length, and they were very slappy. They came in at about 6 inches of brace height. So I think between 7 and 8 is pretty spot on. This one I haven't actually measured the brace height. Once again, running a 3.5 inch shorter string than the nocks. Longbows want a 3 inch shorter string. These deflex reflex ones, I think they work well with a string that's 3.5 inches shorter, and I believe a recurve is 4 inches shorter than the nocks. Yeah, the first ones I made, I had it in mind that they were, they wanted a 3 inch shorter string, and they created a 6 inch brace height. So the next strings I got and the next designs I did an extra 1/2 inch, and that just knocked the brace up very slightly. Let's flip them around, do it properly. That one's 8. That's an 8 inch brace height. So it'd be nice to have that one a little bit lower. That's not the end of the world, especially with such a long drawing bow. Which way round should we do it? We'll do it the same as Agent did, the handle in that way. My technical rag in there, microfiber. I get the shelf lined up again. Ha, this one might not even be in frame. Let's get him a 28 there. You see the tiller on that guy, looking good. I'll test this one to 28 as well. Like I said before, I think my draw is somewhere between 29 and well, potentially even 31, depending how flexible you're feeling, how heavy the bow is. This one definitely pulls more than 28, but it feels nice and sturdy at 28. So let's see what we've got. Balance there. Oh yeah, I had to remember the power test I took from Agent there. It's because of this central point, it came in a couple of pounds lower than what it would be, being that your fingers normally spread a bit more. Spread the string out a bit more. I guess takes up a bit more space in the string. So I heard it said by Richard Head Longbow, another channel that I followed, in terms of to help me make these. I came across one of their videos the other day who showed a little device. You'd hook onto your other little hook, and it would sit like that, and it gives you a much more accurate reading. So when we say 47 pounds at 28, it was probably more like 49. So just sub 50. Right. So let's remember that with this one as well. Turn on my pull scale. Set the freedom units. Warm them up just a little bit. 28, we've got 30, oops, not moving, 32. So yes, it definitely was less draw. But somehow, we know how this one's got more speed. Yep, it's because, bang it against everything. And the roof. You get that extra 1 or 2 inches draw. As you saw it on the tiller entry, this one is, it's it's resisting, and there's not much more, is there? This is what I've talked about before, the unique nature of each stave. I forget who it was. I remember seeing a thumbnail of one of these bows just bent as far as it could on the tiller entry. I guess they'd put a bow together. What was it called? It was how strong is you, or how strong are you bows? And they put a bow together like this, and then they just maxed it. They tried to break it on the tiller entry, and the bend was severe. It was right around like this. But of course, as you're making the things, you don't want to do that. You don't want to take it to its extreme like that. And well, you never know. You never know if it could last to the extreme like that. Because I've broken a few lately. It was a bit painful getting the longer ones. Less of a problem. They're much, they're not bending as much. They're not quite as scary on the tiller entry. But the 60s, my goodness, you're asking a lot. So yeah, I think if I'm going to extend the draw, which I might just a little bit, there's a little bit of power to play with there at 49 pounds at 28. Could take just a little bit more away in here, give it a little bit more draw. And even though we're losing a few pounds, we could well gain speed because we're able to pull it just that little bit farther. So yeah. Awesome. Thanks again to you chaps. It's honoured to have you notice me at all, and I hope I've proved myself a little bit at least. I keep on hoping to do so. Yeah, keep telling me off, Delcat. It's fine. You are clearly more experienced than I. That's for sure. But thank you very much joining me risking my bows. I will see you in the next one. Take it steady, guys. Nice one.